Hola. Good. So you can mute your mic. So when you're talking, you will not on it. Mute your mic. Yes. My people will have an erudite, a scholar by his right, somebody that is very in-depth, a political analyst and nwaafọ Igbo katalaro, nwaafọ Igbo fulefu na Igbo. I told you guys, Kelechi Deca, if you know him on Facebook, you know he's somebody that is very didactic with his opinion. And Gbam. He was the guest speaker during Igbo integration movement, ICC this year, and Obiana Kwanya left and right. People know the clip video and are saying, we don't know that Kelechi Deca will bring this to the table. And we're telling them that how won't we know? Now we invite them. Now we tell them, because we want to create a balance. Kelechi was supposed to join us yesterday, but due to matters beyond his control, he couldn't. So I now had to give him this actual special offer because he's a VIP, a special man. Kelechi, yesterday we treated the topic Igbo presidency or Biafra. But I know that in your usual fashion, you like laying foundation before you say one or two things. And that foundation can chokile. Kaimalu, where do we start getting it wrong? Or where are we getting it right? Anyị na-ebe akwa anyị na-ebe ọ dị justify ọ ihe anyị mere onwe anyị ka ihe ndị mmadụ na-eme anyị. I will leave you. I won't interrupt you. Please enjoy yourself. Take your time. Lay foundation while we listen. Kelechi Deca, you have the floor. Please on your mic and take over.
Okay, my brother, ndị Igbo ndewoni, ụwa mara unu mma. Basically, okwu a okwu ekwesịrị ikwu ekwu from time to time, and the issue due to the way I've always been saying that ndị Igbo kwesịrị ige certain things, enwere nuances in truth. Two truths can exist, but the problem noticed with our people we are either far left or we are either far right, and we don't want to look at the middle way, and which is something that is not the way of the Igbo. You check here Igbo philosophy, igama that enwere a time I better shift within our thoughts in the Igbo philosophical thinking. Nna nna anyị ha, our forefathers say na ebebere ugobere nke si ibe ya ebela nkukwa ya. But after some time may move because as na knowledge is progressive, and the culture will their knowledge now they progressive will be a culture down one you will die of. So but after a time our ancestors reach that kind of agreement because they okay, Igbo worldview, a worldview of duality. The Igbo worldview, our an extremist worldview. Worldview and duality. So our ancestors reached here that agreement that ebe bere ugobere, nkesi beye bela, nkwa palaya, yaga gosi ebo ebe, because that's the balance of the Igbo worldview. But the issue is that you gotta do anything concerning the Igbo history without understanding where the issue started. Mind earlier about the part of the issue. First and foremost, I kwesịrị agree on the fact that the Nzogbu's coup of January 1966 was a mistake. It was the biggest mistake that brought Igbo people a lot of challenges. But that does not mean that before Nzogbu's coup, many issues within Igbo. Because in 1945, there was a pogrom in Jos, a long time. And they were in Igbo affect. In Igbo not Jos, they were affect as early as that. If na Iva value minus massacre earlier before independence, Osadebe concerning that Iva value massacre. Igbo. Iga get that music Osadebe grow about Igbo. It's about that Iva value massacre. So a long time, Ndi Bebidole won't that kind of challenges. But the thing is that coup Polararandi Igbo also. And I was telling you also, Ibia from after the coup, a lot of problems, say, our people started running back home from wherever they are. After that, the first pogrom, many in the north, our people ran back home. Ndubu Nagowon, now some of the people, Nyere Ojuku assurance that there won't again any other problem. That the thing Obromagas in Igbo niile gbara ọsọ lọghachi ebe ha niile siri gba ọsọ again problem. Ha nyere Ojukwu that assurance. Then Ojukwu went out of his way and told our people that lee ihe ndị a gwara anyị that anyị nwee ike ịlọghachi again problem again again peace. Our people went back. After our people went back, the worst massacre happened. And the worst massacre happened in spite of that assurance, Hanyere Ojukwu, that Owenha Gemendi. So when our people went back, the worst massacre happened, which is even worse than the first one. So it was after that one, without these people keeping their own words, that was the time Ojukwu convoked that conference of Igbo leadership, and everybody say, "Ke onodi anyị in Nigeria, are we going to continue?" And this kind of thing is happening to us. Even assurance the first time that they will protect us, they didn't protect us. Now that thing happened. Where are we? In Nigeria. So that was the time Igbo became existentialist crisis in Nigeria, and they started thinking about their future in Nigeria. So onye ọbụla na-akọ akụkọ ndị Igbo mekwara nke a, ndị Igbo eme nke a, ndị Igbo mere ihe, ndị Igbo eme nke a, without getting to that root of what happened to ndị Igbo during the second pogrom, that second massacre, when the Nigerian leaders gave assurance of protecting the lives and property of Igbo people, but they failed in that assurance. And Anaga in the different military barracks, Anaga each military barracks, Apoptandi Bonile, a massacre, Apoptandi Bonina massacre, Anaga from one institution to another, Nebundi, and all those kind of things. So it was that thing that we were pushed to the wall. All that in Imaranye, our people started running home, because Nigeria could not protect us again. So Onyowolana Korogi, any other thing concerning everything, without hinting at this aspect, that person is either deliberately lying or be engaging in a sort of historical revisionism, because that was the problem. When a country, when a society fails to protect a certain group, a certain member of that society, then questions will be asked. So it was that time that our people made up their mind that this country is not for us again, because they did not keep to the terms. Then after that also, Aga na Abore. Every check he got through the history of every other effort emekri for peace. You will find it. All these things, all these informations are there in different archives. Ghana National Archives, Enugu, Ghana, like everywhere. You will see all this information. So our people were ready to make peace. Our people were ready to live in peace. But the assurance of protection of their lives and property was not there. So ebe ndị Igbo bidoro kwuedo okwu that onye ndị iro gbara gburugburu na-eche ndụ ya nche all the time. That was when this thing came up. Because while we are talking about peace, some people in the north or in different parts of the country were going about identifying Igbo people, and they were killing them one after the other. Sometimes in the presence of military men. So the same military men that were supposed to protect our people did not protect our people. But you know something about history. History is something you also have to look at historically. And that's why Mnaba people say, don't judge history with the benefit of hindsight. In 2026, then you start judging certain things that happened in 1966 with a 2026 knowledge and 2026 information and 2026 thinking that's available to you. Then you're judging decisions some people take in 1966. You will make a lot of mistakes because your judgment will not is based on an information that is almost 60 years advanced, whereas you didn't take into cognizance of Ndahonoro in 1966. How many this level of knowledge in one now? How many this level of information in one now for them to get to this level? So that's why we don't need to judge history from the benefit of hindsight. Our people started running home. And when our people started running home, like I told you some time ago, this craze in our own Igbo, every only Igbo chọrọ inwe ịrụ ụlọ na village. Every only Igbo chọrọ ịrụ ụlọ na village. So some people there, it's a waste of money, that it is not an investment, that it is this and it is that. They don't know what caused it. Everything is caused by something. The trauma of people running back home and they don't have a place to sleep. As at that time, our people ran back from everywhere. Most of them were sleeping in schools. Most of them were sleeping in churches. Most of them were sleeping in hospitals. Some of them were sleeping in village squares, in market. They didn't have houses in the village to sleep. So after that thing happened, the Igbo mind started rethinking. So that our people started thinking that you must have a place of abode in your village where you will sleep when you come back. And that will also be a strength, something that will always be dragging you home when you.
A lot of people are following the same. So in Akowa now that that craze Abiase Akuluwe uno na onewu that rave that ndị Igbo ji eto na ndị Igbo flow mfananya that we take our wealth back home. You know, before you build in the township, build in the village. In Ekuno ihe Biafran war so where cause. Go ahead.
Yeah,
please.
the war caused Syria because the time during the war, our people Barosog. So everybody Barosog, and they found out that majority of almost 80% of the people Balatroso didn't have a place to stay. Some of them Nehina school, some Nehina hospital, some Nehina church. So after that experience, and after the war, some of them that went back to the city found out that their property has been taken over. But mostly, I have to put this thing through to you. We didn't have that problem in Lagos. We didn't have that problem in the north. And Yemen had that problem in the area of the southwest. So these are things we have to. The only place I had that problem was in River State. And there was a decree, abandoned property decree, that was put in River State IG made that problem, and they took over all the property. Igbo autobiography of Onyeka Onwenu, he also highlighted there about how her father's property was taken over, and so many people. So we have to, people know that they take all our property, we have to make this distinction. You check here also the relationship between Alex Ekwueme and Sir Michael Balogu started during that time, because Alex Ekwueme handed over all his property to Otumba Michael Balogu. So it was after the war, Otumba Michael Balogu handed everything back to him. And it was during that relationship when Alex Ekwueme became vice president. Michael Balogu visited him. Then Alex Ekwueme Joya said, "You've been thinking about owning a bank. What happened to that, your dream?" So Okoriana, that he's been having issues with bureaucracy and things like that. So Ogwea go with Ome apply again. So Balogu applied again. Subomi Balogu applied again. After applying, Alex Ekwueme helped and granted him that license. That's Oteshinwete First City Monumental Bank, First City Bank. It became First City Monument Merchant Bank, then First City Monumental Bank. That first is not just a guy name. It was the first private bank. So people have to note this. Then let me go back to another area I have to mystery before jump back. Do we go or do we stay? Do we go or do we stay? I've been telling people that you have to go back to history and study how our leaders in the past handled some of these issues. Like I told you, Nnamdi Azikiwe came up with a strategy of one leg in this place, one leg in this place. That we will go to the center, but we will not abandon our home while staying at the center. So that was why he was at the center, at the Governor General, Michael Okpara was at Enugu as the premier. And if you notice, that was the time Eastern Nigeria was recorded as having one of the fastest growing economies in the world. If you study what Michael Okpara achieved using the Eastern Nigerian Development Corporation, the omnibus agency developed the entire Eastern Nigeria. And the idea to develop Eastern Nigerian Development Corporation came from the book Zik Hidere in 1937 titled Renaissance Africa. However, Zik Hidere about the possibility that Ndi Igbo and in Africa can rise beyond mediocrity, beyond primitivism, and also be able to compete with anybody all over the world. So in that Renaissance Africa, Zik gave that book to Mbono Jike and Dr. Pius Okibo. So these two people sat down, synthesized that book. It is from that book that the idea of Eastern Nigerian Development Corporation, which is the omnibus agency to develop Igbo land, was launched. It was through the Eastern Nigerian Development Corporation, Presidential Hotel Enugu and Presidential Hotel Port Harcourt. It was through Eastern Nigerian Development Corporation, Transamadi Industrial Estate, which is the first industrial estate in the whole of Black Africa. It was through Eastern Nigerian Development Corporation, Ekulu Industrial Estate. Standard Shoe Factory Owerri. The Metallurgical Industry Onisha. Golden Guinea Breweries Umuahia, which is the first indigenous brewery in Africa. Calabar Cement. Nkalago Cement, which is Niger Cement. Niger Steel Onisha. University of Nigeria Nsukka. Ibariam Industrial Agro-Industry Estate, which is the first agro-industrial estate in West Africa. Obudu Cattle Ranch. That time, Okpara came up with what is called spatial development, whereby every industries are sited across different aspects of Eastern Nigeria to make sure that you won't have everybody rushing to Enugu because that's where work is, or rushing to Port Harcourt because that's where work is. He made it that industries were spread across the entire eastern Nigeria. That man ruled what is today 9 states. So what that man achieved in 4 years across these 9 states is what all these whole governors have not been able to achieve in 20 years, and they're all making noise. This man, Michael Okpara, as at the time he was doing that thing, that man did not have a house of his own. He didn't have a house of his own. Let me give you an example. He had a hospital at Umuahia. So when Zik bịara n'Umuahia be make campaign, Michael Okpara was moving around trying to make sure that Zik is very comfortable. Then Zik had Joe Mbono Ejike say, who is this young man that is running around trying to organize everything? Mbono Ejike agba Zik na onye awo Michael Okpara, a medical doctor, Omere hospital, the only hospital ever in at that time, Oya with that hospital. And he's trying to go to Scotland to study for his specialization. Zik agba Mbono Ejike to tell Michael that he's not going anywhere, that he's going to serve his people. Otaka Michael Okpara contest the election into Eastern House of Assembly. So why I'm bringing some of these things is that within what is called the Eastern Nigerian Development Corporation, I were already existing map, development map that only Obona Choro develop Eastern Nigeria today. All you need to do is to go and get that document. Everything in it not there. Connecting development. Development follows the road. Let me also address another issue. Some people Nabia because Awolowo get free education and the Eastern Nigerian under Okpara and Zik Enyefu have free education. It was a matter of finances. Awolowo had cocoa. The North had granite, had tin, had a lot of things. The only thing we had was palm oil. And that palm oil goes through, palm oil that time, and we had a lot of palm plantations. That was why Michael Okpara launched here the Gbam Ohaji palm plantation at the palm. And when palm plantation before then. So what was happening is that you buy from people, petty farmer, all these women in the village, you buy from them, then the other people, the middlemen will buy from the women and sell to government. Government will sell to Palm Produce Board. Palm Produce Board will export for us to get our revenue. We didn't have enough money. So because we didn't have enough money, Michael Okpara's government launched here about counterpart funding, which is if communities were able to raise a certain amount of money to start an idea, either building a hospital or building a school, the NCNC government of Eastern Nigeria will bring 50%. Then they build school. That was why Eastern Nigeria was the first place in the whole of West Africa where communities owned secondary school. Enuma High School or Hafia is one of the first community-owned secondary school. Mbise Secondary School, Mbise, built in 1956, was one of the first community-owned secondary school. Mbise General Hospital was built in 1956. It's one of the first community-owned hospitals. So Eastern Nigeria was the first place it developed the template that community can own secondary school and community can own hospitals. Then another thing was when it comes to sending people to school, our community, all this thing you know, that everybody you just come together. Maybe somebody when issue, people are there together on Rube one also and all those things. These were part and parcel of Ananeme launching. People now in a village are okay. I got pushing wonko. Nobody will go and harvest his palm fruits from a certain period to a certain period. So after some time, the whole community gabia ebuklata denko, ebuklacha denko ereye ewete the money, will send the most intelligent student within that community to university. That was what our people were doing. So that was how we were able to send a lot of people to universities. Let me give you another example. When Michael Okpara launched the poultry farm in Etiti, which later Mbakwe revived it to poultry farm. Before then, ndị Igbo anaghị ata akwa. Akwa we hear just aja. A lot of people will just come online and they say a lot of things. They don't understand. If you don't understand the cultural history of your people, you will find it very difficult to understand their political history, because you will not know why they do certain things the way they do certain things. But when the poultry, Michael Okpara been established, the chickens started hatching and they were egg glut. In the whole market, there was egg everywhere. But because our people naturally, you understand, for people who are my generation, if a small young person and that kind of thing, and they treat somehow, we didn't. So what happened was that Michael Okpara started putting those eggs into schools, boarding schools, to make sure that one student eats at least one egg in a day. Because he is a medical doctor, he said that the choline in eggs may help brain development. And because our people, they dwell so much on carbohydrate without protein, that is affecting the brain development of the young children. So here we make sure that all the secondary schools, we are getting eggs. At least one child, you have to eat one egg a day to develop their brain. So when you talk about people, they talk about how Igbo, how Eastern Nigeria, Igbo people were able to close the educational gap within 10 years, within 15 years. Because by the time ndị Igbo were the first graduate, ndị Yoruba enwere more than 50 to 60 graduates. By the time ndị Igbo were the first graduate, by the time Dr. S.O. Omu graduated, ndị Yoruba enwere more than 100. And in the EFIC, because Hopewade Institute started in Calabar, they had that access. In my number people that geography is destiny. They had that access to schools. So that was how those people went higher this thing, having a gap, a lot of gap. But Ndi Igbo must always be grateful to the Catholic Church, especially Bishop Shanahan. He studied the Igbo religious institution, especially the coming of the missionaries. You found out that the Anglican churches followed the riverine areas because their missionaries came through the rivers. So that was why all the places in where access to water were more Anglican population, and they have Anglican school earlier than those that didn't have access to water. But when Shanahan, a young man, came in, he broke everything and started planting churches and planting schools. Everywhere planted, before planting a church, you plant a school. Because Shanahan came with the philosophy that let the children evangelize their parents. These are some history that, you won't see it in history books anyway. Shanahan came up that let us educate the children. When the children get educated, they will evangelize their parents. Instead of you going from place to place trying to evangelize these people that see you as an intruder. So that was what the Catholic Church did. And the Catholic Church started building massively across Igbo land. Let me give you an example. The first conference in Black Africa was built in Mbise in 1923. The first Reverend sister in the entire Black Africa.
The first what?
The first convent for sisters, for Reverend sisters, was built in 1923, and the first Reverend Sister from Black Africa was Mother Mary Maturocha. She was ordained in 1928. So that was how the Catholic Church started building schools. Everywhere they go, they started building schools. And the schools they were building was a strategy. The schools were influencing their evangelism. They say, let us educate the children. The children will evangelize their parents. So that's why we have to always, whatever challenge, even with religion, or say that they affected us here, they affected us here, you have to be very grateful to them. And also, without the Catholic Church, we would have been perished during Biafra War. It was through the Catholic Church, Caritas, it got to a level that even Nigerian government severe diplomatic relationship with the Vatican. From 1970, immediately after the war, the first thing Nigerian government did was to sack all white missionaries in eastern Nigeria. And they severed that relationship. It took the coming of Shagari in 1980 for Pope John Paul to come to Nigeria, and that was how, when this thing was restored. So when you talk about history, you have to link it up with so many other things. So the issue there is that when we talk about the war, there was the last time we had an issue, I was telling you about the war, and why I still believe that Gowon was deceitful after the war. Look, let me tell you, we were the vanquished. So people should stop painting it that no victor, no vanquished. That thing is bollocks. That's badadash. And so you can't then you go about telling the whole world that it is the misunderstanding between brothers, that there was no victor, there was no vanquished. No. It got through the history of the things that happened immediately after the war. There were so many of our people that lost their lives after the war has been declared over. 1 or 2 months after the war has been declared over, there were executions in eastern Nigeria. Some of the people they feel, when you talk about Timothy Onwatuegu, go and ask, how did he die? So I can name names. But these are some of the things we have to, sometimes I used to tell people that we bring the past to the present for the sake of the future. So when they came up and said that no victor, no vanquished, no, we have accepted that we lost. And you people went ahead and treated us as people. So stop painting it. Stop trying to make us feel bad. Stop humoring us and stop patronizing us. But the issue there is that they launched a program called the 3R. Reconciliation, reconstruction, and rehabilitation. We were not rehabilitated. We were not reconstructed. And there was no reconciliation. If there was a reconciliation, Obasanjo would not have come back after 40 years to start the Oputa panel. Obasanjo was the man who received the document of surrender of Biafra. It was Philip Effiong, General Philip Effiong, that handed over the document to Obasanjo. And Philip Effiong told Obasanjo something. He said that these people did not decide to go to war. The war was brought to them, and they fought to protect themselves. They fought a defensive war to protect themselves. He said something. He told him, he said, you people should treat them with dignity. Don't maltreat them. Don't treat them with disdain. Because if you keep on treating them with disdain, their next generation, they will have their children will rise up against this thing, and this thing will come up again. Did that thing not happen? So when people come out and they say that these children, they were not there during the war, they were not born during the war, why are they this angry? Why are they this angry? I try to make a comment about transgenerational trauma. And I know some of your followers try to make a mess out of it, try to make it a ridiculous something. But it's something that people who have no knowledge of social psychology, people who have no knowledge of trauma psychology and all those things, they will make a mess. But it's part of the thing. But it has happened all over the world. And that's why during war, after war, countries try as much as possible to counsel people, to get people to, to recheck their memory, the way they think and the way they act. So when they said that there was I told you there's no reconciliation. We were the ones that took ourselves back into Nigeria. Even though when we went back into Nigeria, there were so many offices, there were so many things that was not made available for us. Those things were off limit for us, but we accepted it. Then the issue of reconstruction, there was no reconstruction. Let me give you a historical distance. The National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, that started in 1973, was started by Eastern Youth Movement in Enugu. When they found out that the whole of Enugu, the whole of Owerri and Onitsha and Aba were destroyed, the youths started reconstruction. Those of them that were studying civil engineering at University of Nigeria and Nsukka gathered themselves together. Other youths, everybody started learning how to. They start covering roads, reconstructing roads, repainting offices, trying to put things together. It was the success of what they were doing across different eastern regions that Oba Abiaseka saw. And when Oba Abiaseka saw this thing, he reported this thing to Lagos, that look at what these youths are doing. And this thing is very good. It was that idea that Gowon used to establish the National Youth Service Corps in 1973. So when I tell you something, I will tell you the person who was in charge, who was the leader of the Eastern Youth Movement is Professor Ozodem Mawala. He's still alive today. So that was how NYSC was established, because these people were not reconstructing our roads. Our youth came together, and at the same time the youth came together and they were building the roads, trying to, that kind of thing, trying to reconstruct and put things, clear the debts, clear everything, the debris of destruction. That was also the same time some of the young people who were despondent, who didn't know what to do, came together and went and met Mr. Achebe, and that was how Rangers International of Football Club of Enugu was also established, to give people hope. So that's why when people say Rangers is more than a club, people don't understand what it means. Rangers gave hope. Rangers gave hope. And the early players of Rangers were people, young children, young boys who served in the Biafran boys company. If you listen to the interview of Shego Gbam when he was trying to talk about why the Rangers Corps gave the strength and the character that Green Eagles used in winning the 1980 Nations Cup, go and listen to that thing. He will tell you that because those people were warriors, that those boys were warriors, people that came out from war. So when they fight on the field of play, you know that these people have so strong character. That was why the Green Eagles then were made up of mostly players from Rangers International and IICC Shooting Stars, with some people from Bendel Insurance. So this is that estate. If you want to talk about entertainment, music, people like Peacocks, Oriental Brothers, Sweet Breeze, all those things, semicolon, and all those kind of things, they started entertainment in that area. But let me not go beyond this thing, trying to give you instances of how these things came. Then now, when we talk about some of the challenges we are facing today, I think the challenges we are facing today is from our inability to know where we are and ask ourselves, what do we want? Do we want a good life Do we want a good system? Do we want good governance for Igbo people? Or do we just want to answer, say, we want to be on our own? That you are on your own, you succeeded, you are just on your own, is not necessarily going to solve your problem. So we have to balance between why do we want to be on our own? When we answer that question, when you answer the why, that's when you will have to know the how. If you don't know the why, you will not know the how. And because we've not been able to answer the why properly, that's why the how is causing a lot of problems. A lot of people will tell you, because when you stay on your own, you will be able to achieve this, you'll be able to achieve this. Yes, when you stay on your own, when there is a homogeneity, ethnic homogeneity, it is an advantage. But not every country that has ethnic homogeneity is doing well. Somalia is not doing well. There are ethnic homogeneity. And not also every country that is smaller. Every country that is smaller is doing well. You see, when you look at Africa today, Cape Verde that would just surprise everybody at the World Cup, the population of Cape Verde is not up to the population of Umbisen. But people might tell you, yeah, Cape Verde about 500 or something thousand is not up to the population of Umbisen. But people might tell you, because they are small. Guinea-Bissau, that is about 30 minutes flight from Cape Verde, is also small. But it is like it's a rundown country. It's a banana republic. It's also small. They will tell you, okay, we'll have if you have your own resources, you'll be able to manage it. Equatorial Guinea has more resources than United Arab Emirates, and also has lower population than United Arab Emirates. How come United Arab Emirates is where it is, Equatorial Guinea is where it is? Sao Tome has the same resources with Kuwait. How come Kuwait is where it is? Sao Tome and Principe is where they are. So these things are people just sit down and they come up with all these ideas and all kind of things, but they don't connect it because they don't know examples. All these people cannot give you examples of countries that have achieved it and countries that have not achieved it, countries that has made it and countries that have not made it. When you are able to study these examples, that's when you understand why. Go to the entire Igbo land today. I wrote something the other day about what is happening in our education sector. If you go across Igbo land now, it is the PGs, President Generals of Town Unions, that are renovating primary schools. What is happening to local government? What is happening to state government? Is the PGs that are renovating the health centers. Even in some places now, like my place, it is the PGs that are even employing teachers and paying teachers. Is it not Igbo people and our people? And in some places, part of Igbo land also, you see that the contest for power, who will be the president of PG, who will be the leadership of the village, who will be the Eze, who will be the Igwe, and all those kind of things, are also leading to a lot of crises. So which tells you that the fact that we are ruling ourselves is not something that will say we are not going to have a crisis. Crisis will still be there unless we solve the fundamental question: why do we want to be on our own? And I keep on telling people that what we need a nuanced approach. And that nuanced approach will have to solve the problem. We need to build an Igbo homeland. Igbo homeland where every Igbo person, all in the diaspora, whether you are in Equatorial Guinea, or whether you are in Sierra Leone, or whether you are in Jamaica, whether you are in US, Canada, anywhere you are in the world, you can call Igbo land home. And if you want to come home to Igbo land, you say you want a land in Enugu, you get a land. You want in Onitsha, you get. You want in Owerri, you get. Wherever you want, you get. But it has to be thriving, which is why industrialization is important. The entire Igbo land, when you move around the entire Igbo land, you find out that there is no places that can take you 4 hours to drive from one place to another. So, which means that we have a compact geography. And compact geography, contrary to insinuations, a lot of people are saying that Igbo, we don't have land, we don't have all this thing, we won't be able to survive. Compact geography also has its own disadvantage. Ask yourself, the Tokyo metropolitan area has a population of almost 40 million. Tokyo metropolitan area is not up to the size of Enugu State. Ask yourself, New York metropolitan area, what's the population? What's the size of New York metropolitan area? So when you look at some of these things, you find out the things we have to do. Ebonyi State alone, the land in Ebonyi State alone is enough to feed Nigeria. Okay, look at Holland, the Netherlands. What is the land space of Netherlands? The Netherlands is among the top 5 food exporting countries in the world. What is the land space of Israel? That are almost self-sufficiency in food production. What's the land space? So we don't need all these things. Ebonyi State can feed the whole of Nigeria. Well organized, we can convert the entire Ebonyi State into an agro-industrial base. So anybody who wants to go into agro-industrialization, who wants to go into agro-technology, who wants to go into all those kind of things, you move this thing, you move to Ebonyi State and locate yourself there. So when you look at a place like Aba, SME hub, you can turn Aba into a Guangzhou of Eastern Nigeria. You can link Aba. There was a time Ojo Sokalo was building Obuaku City. If you are driving from Aba to Port Harcourt, where Igbo River is divided the distance, that's where Obuaku City is. You can develop Obuaku City to a powerful, smart city, so that even the money people that live in Port Harcourt now will come there and buy estate and property and be going to work from there. People from Aba will come there. You develop that entire stretch, and you can link Port Harcourt to Aba, completely linked, the same way New York is linked with New Jersey. All developed space. Some time ago, I sold the idea of the Great Triangle, that the Great Triangle idea is what we need to develop Eastern Nigeria. And in this Great Triangle, from Enugu through Oka to Onitsha will become the base. From Enugu through Okigbe to Umuahia to Aba will become the hypotenuse. Then from Aba to Owerri, to Umbidi, to Ihiala, to Nnewi, back to Onitsha will become the site. The Chinese people say that development follows the road. By the time you develop all these things, develop Igbo land, most of this agitation is because of the failure of leadership in Igbo land. Right-thinking human beings in charge of at least 3 states will transform the entire Igbo land, and everybody will have a place, and everybody will feel so relaxed, and so that's what you need. You don't need a situation whereby somebody will graduate from University of Nigeria and the person will come to Lagos or come to Abuja to start looking for a job.
You said if we have what, we will transform.
So you don't need that.
Southeast. You said if we have what?
If we have at least 3 governors with sense, 3, just 3, or even 2 with sense, that set out, that understands what development is all about. If you have just 2 with sense, with even the flawed constitutional arrangement we have in Nigeria presently, you will transform Igbo land. You will transform it. By the time 2 states are so transformed, okay, look at what is happening now. Look at even the situation we have now. Look at the mini competition we are having now. If Oti does something, there will be pressure on Uzodinma to do it. There will be pressure on Soludo or pressure on Mba and all these people to do the same thing. That was how it was under Okpara and Awolowo. When Michael Okpara built Transamade Industrial Estate, Awolowo replied with Ikeja Industrial Estate. That was competition. When NCNC built University of Nigeria and Nsukka, Awolowo responded by building University of Ife, and Ahmadu Bello responded by building Ahmadu Bello University. And that was how competition. And the federal government built the University of Lagos. So you see, you have to come up and create a system that works. What we need is greater autonomy. Greater autonomy to have our destiny in our hands. Let me tell you, culture is everything. And culture should be able to influence the curriculum of your education. The curriculum for an Igbo child should not be the same curriculum for a Fulani child, because the cultures are different. That's why when you go to places like Japan, Norway, and Finland, where culture influenced their educational system, you will understand why people develop their educational curriculum based on their cultural uniqueness, socio-cultural uniqueness, instead of copying and paste. So you go and copy what America is doing in their educational system, or what Britain is doing with their educational system, without taking cognizance of the cultural nuances, you will fail. So in the southeastern Nigeria, Igbo land is supposed to, the entire 5 states of Igbo land, the commissioners of education across Igbo land are supposed to sit down, analyze the curriculum we have presently, and restructure the entire curriculum in a way that it will reflect our culture, it will reflect the way we do things, it will reflect the way we see things, and also, while putting legs into the culture, it will also be putting one leg into the future. That's how societies develop. You don't develop by shouting, boys, oh yeah, boys, oh yeah. No. The curriculum system we have presently in Nigeria is rubbish. We need to restructure it.
Deca,
we need to review it.
Let's take some questions. You said that you can off your mic so that you will hear me. Off your mic. You said something about if we have just 2 sensible governors in the southeast, that we're good to go. 3, okay. Does it mean that the governors we have in the southeast are senseless? And then the problem we have in southeast, the governors. On your mic and talk. On your mic.
It's not that the governors we have are senseless. They are sensible. But leadership entails a lot of things. Leadership entails courage. Leadership also entails high level of intelligence. Leadership entails innovation. Your ability to think innovatively. Your ability to see the problems you have and start thinking about solution. A kind of solution that will match your problem. You don't go and borrow a solution that worked elsewhere and try and replicate it without understanding the importance of domesticating the solution. So what we need presently, if we have 2 governors, it's not that they are senseless, it's not. If we have 2 governors, okay, if we have somebody like Sam Mbakwe, 2, let me use it. If we have 2 people like Sam Mbakwe in Igbo land, they will transform the entire state. You ask yourself, how many years did Sam Mbakwe stay? How many years? Just 4 years. Within that 4 years, check the things he achieved within that 4 years. Because Sam Mbakwe was also coming from a background of understanding the Igbo challenges. During the time of abandoned property legal tussle in Port Harcourt, Sam Mbakwe was the lawyer that represented most Igbo people. So he understood where we are coming from. He had the innate understanding of the Igbo problem. So it's when you have this kind of understanding, you know what the people are suffering from, and you know the solution that will take the people out of what they're suffering from. So the issue is that instead of having governors that look towards Abuja every day for direction, look towards Abuja every day for idea, look towards Abuja every day for decision, you should have governors that think autonomously, think that this my problem is the problem of the Southeast, and how do I solve it? That's the issue.
Let's take some reactions and questions. Please, Kenna 485 on your camera, please, if you want to be here. Kenna, please on your camera. Or I'll take you down, please. We must see your face before you react, please. Kenna, can you hear us? Please, let's take some questions and reaction from Chioma. Okay, thank you. Let's take some questions and reaction from Chioma then before we come to Kenna. Chioma, please, over to you, please.
Can you guys hear me? Sorry, I had to put this headphones in. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Kelechi, hi. I'm back again. So I know. I think that this discussion would have been great for our next one on Friday, where we wanted to talk about the Southeast. Southeast Ikwesime, in terms of unity of purpose, in terms of development and stuff. I think Kelechi should also be invited to that one, because I think a lot of the points that he made do not contradict any of the things that any true Igbo person got. My concern, however, is the timing of some of the things. Whenever we talk about the war, there's a prior to this current agitation, because I can only speak to this agitation. I'm about that. The thing is that the autopsy of what this current agitation has done. When I mean current, I mean past 26 years, from the Wazirike times to Kano's time to Ekpa's time and Ngozi and all of their many iterations. Mgbe ha na-ekwu ihe ahụ ha metere, abịa na-asị, ihe ha ji mee that agitation, ihe ha ji mewe agitation bụ maka ihe mere otu a. Kelechi, do you think that, number one, the timing is a bit off? Because mgbe a na-eme autopsy ihe, because onye ga-agwa m ugbu a na ihe Gentle the Yahoo ji bepụ ndị mmadụ ọtụ, bepụ ndị mmadụ amụ, lie ha na ndụ, the name of Biafra wo maka ihe na-eme na Nigeria. Because ọ bụrụ na ọwụ otu ahụ ka o shidere, ndị Nigeria ka ha ga na-achụ, ha ga na-eje Abuja, ha ga na-aga federal government, na-aga Sorok, na-eme those things. Ọ bụghị n'ala Igbo. My concern is the timing, because we have to also be careful that we do not end up providing moral cover to justify the very part of that agitation. As collective ndị Igbo, ihe ndị Igbo mere ndị Igbo, ịghọtala, not ihe ndị Nigeria mere anyị, but ihe ndị Igbo mere ndị Igbo. What do you think about that part of it? Oh, let me mute.
Okay. Thank you so much for your question. Let me go back a bit. In 1998, I was the first journalist to give Raf Wazirike an interview. I searched him out. I searched him out to his house. He was living at number 8 Ajijedu Street, Ijesha, Surulere. In 1998, I searched him out and sat down with him and gave him 3 pages of newspaper interview. That was 1998. And part of that time, I asked him one question. I said that Ojukwu, in his interview, said something. He said that we should start pursuing Biafra of the mind, not Biafra of territory. So Mjoya say, here Ojukwu kuru about Biafra of the mind. being different from Biafra of the territory. Can he care about it? So he gave me his answers why we must pursue a territorial Biafra against Biafra of the mind. But look at what the issue, what comes up. Whenever you allow agitation to become an arms struggle, you are also losing the capacity to monitor who is genuine and who is not genuine. When you democratize an armed struggle, and all those kind of things, and this thing almost happened during the Biafran War, because when some people will just come up, they create their own company. Some people will come up, they create their own company. They will call themselves some ambush company. Some people will call themselves different companies, which we've not even delved into some of these things. But we found out that also some of those people creating independent companies were not being monitored by the Biafran Central Command during the war, and some of them used that distance to commit a lot of atrocities. And it is not unique to Ndibo or unique to Biafra. It's not there different agitations, any armed struggle all over the world. You will find out the challenges of when you allow a lot of people who are uninterrogated and unexamined to be part and parcel of an armed struggle. You are going to have a lot of criminal elements who will use the cover of that armed struggle to pursue individual gains and also sort out individual problems. Let me tell you, during Biafra War, Biafra War, people their wife, because how Haji Epaulet, Haji Opa, and Haji all those kind of things. It happened. But it happens in every war. So that's why the best thing every society will do is to avoid a kind of armed struggle whereby it's an all-commerce event, whereby everybody will be armed. Everybody, and also something. When you do that, you're laying a foundation for societal destruction. And that was what happened in Igbo land. And some of us also highlighted this thing, that as long as you are not interrogating, you are not examining, you are not trying to be strict, understand what do we want, what are we pursuing, and that kind of thing. Criminals will join, and when criminals join, criminals will do what criminals always do. So okay. That's my response to that.
If that's true, and we know that, I think again, I perhaps I'm not asking that question, but I get where you're going. But I think here's my thing. I've been culturally, enwete shi gbuo ọchụ ma enwete shi mee ihe ọjọọ n'ala, a na-ekwu okwu retribution, or a na-ekwu okwu accountability. I am of the opinion that is not the time to have other type of conversations, because the reason why I'm jini ekwu ihe awo, onwe n'oge elders, people who knew these people, kwesịrị iji gwa anyị, maka na ọ bụ na ndị hụrụ ndị onye isi ndị mas ụwa zuru ike welitere olu otu anyị welitego olu now. Many people, many of my generation, agaghị ahụ Kanu, who approach ya, who methods ya, si ọwụ otu a ka a ga-esi nweta that liberation one as na ndị Igbo needed. Now, because in my opinion, and from the lived experience I went, by the time the internet came and Kanu's version of, I can see no the replication of it was Abia. That agitation led to where we are now. There were so many times to talk about ihe ndị leaders anyị kwesịrị na-eme. The vacuum in Igbo leadership led to that gap being there. We can acknowledge that and say, no, maka ndị okenye mehu ihe ha kwesịrị ime, ndị elders not okenye. ndị elders emeghụ ihe ha kwesịrị, not elders, ndị leaders na-achịnụ na ndị si na ha na-achị anyị emeghụ ihe ha kwesịrị ime, mere non-state actors can come. Yeah, we can make the argument that in every war, in every agitation, and that the bad eggs can do, but this went beyond the bad eggs. On our watch, in our time, in my generation, anụrụ mgbe those things na-eme. So I kind of find it a little peculiar that oge azi mgbe ahụ ekwesịrị ịbịa na-ekwu owuhu ụzọ akụnụ kwesịrị isi na-eme ya, oge ahụ ha na-abịa ha eburu egbe buru mma onye kwuo ha si agba abịa ọkụ, and they actually implement it and do it. Ọ mgbe ahụ ka elders gara ebe bịa gwawa anyị the history of ihe anyị kwesịrị ime, gwa anyị the part anyị kwesịrị ị na-eme. But ndị elders, and ana m ekwu ya na Kelechi, ana m ekwu ya, generation unu a bịara before us, mgbe ahụ a gara ejide onye a si ya gaa kpọrọ ọdụ nga na ka agwa gị. Most of those people jumped over themselves, even go and appeal for bail. There were signs, telltale signs. You have studied the great, you have studied even the changing the course of history. This is a person that changed literally the course of history. Today, even the average Igbo youth, ihe na-eche wota ga-eshi destroy ya alaki ya akwata on it. Sige na Biafra ka ọ chọga. So anyway, so many times in elders, unu gare, you could have stood in the gap for our generation, for us as in Igbo, unu ndị elders sitting down what we couldn't see from the Iroko tree. Unu chiri anya arịchala the Iroko tree. Chizi nga ahụ letu anya, hụzie na ndị a na-abazi n'ime ọhịa na-egbuzi mmadụ. Ọ gafeziele ka a na-agwa ha, even the leaders bịaziri si ka ha nọkọ bịa na-agwa ya, they realized that he was somebody that could not be advised, he was somebody that could not be counseled, he was something that wanted supreme leadership in a culture that did not subscribe to demagoguery. Anyị ahụhụ ndị demagogue wo onye ha ji wuru ndị ụmụnna ụmụada ngwa otu shimura gị shi anyị kpaa na anyị ewe iwe erukwa echi anyị chọta anyị ga-eshikwuo ya. That's our normal flow. But ugbuazi anyị na-emezi account, enwe documentary anyị mere aga n'ọsụ jụchicha ndị ahụ nọ n'ọsụ kee otu ihe a shi mekata unu. Enwe ebe a na-akpọ Murder Valley. Those things nọ na-eme. In the past 5 years, ndị Igbo nọ n'ụlọ every Monday. Even in Nnewi till today, Monday, ụmụ akwụkwọ agaghị school n'ime Nnewi. There were so many points for the elders and, our leaders to have started pointing hand. Wabido ebe ahụ. I'm sure, in my opinion, that trying to understand the motivation of it, without accounting that, whether it's epigenetics or not, ga-eme mmadụ ha ewere otu onye Igbo ibia befo si na omeghe ya n'aha Biafra, criminal elements or not, as long as they did it in the name of that Biafra, ga-emenu de Kelechi si na ihe m kwuge washina gaga do something now contrary to that thing ha na-achọghị ịnụ. Asa ga-agba ụlọ gị ọkụ, ọ ga-achụwa ebe ibi. We saw these things happen. Gbamana no ebe a now na-host mụ na gị. Naanị na o mepere platform ya. Some of us went there, some other people on the other side eme ya. They threatened to buy him and her family ya maka na obi na Southeast. Anyị machalala those things. Anyị hụcharala those things. So oge ha na-akpụ ihe ahụ mere ene ka enwe ike ma ndị a ga-adọ aka na ntị ma ndị a ga-akpọchi ma ndị a ga-asị ihe unu mere, somebody has to be accountable for it. Abịazie na-akụzi akụkọ history otu owu na ọbara anyị shi mee anyị na ọ wụrụ otu all the time in our concern, because he gụkwa the comments nọ here. Onwe the reason why that cover, that moral cover ka ndị mmadụ na-achị bido aka na, because enweghị onye chọrọ ka eholdo ya accountable for ndị ahụ egburu. What about those victims? Ọwagara n'ọsọ agagwa ha sị, ọ maka epigenetics ahụ mere, ọ maka ihe ahụ mere n'agha mere, ya jụọ oge sị, ya mere ha ji were IED lighere m n'ihu ama nna m. Ihe ha ga-eji megbechie ahịa, anyị agaghị aga ha asị ndị Igbo. Ebe mụashi abịaga. And I'm curious to know, how what you think about that, and like from your expertise and from your own understanding, if in agota ebe mu ashinabia. Thank you. And I'm done now. Thanks.
Deca, before you reply him, before you reply her, please just hold on. Let's hear from Kene. Kene, are you there? Kene, do you have any reaction before we go to, please, quickly?
Bacham, I want to speak generally. If you could give me a few minutes, is that okay? Okay. First of all, Mr. Deca Dal, I'm happy that you feature in this kind of space where you engage and educate our people. We've talked sometime in the past, and it's an opportunity to also
Please
engage.
put your face in your frame better so that we can see you. Thank you, please.
Yeah. So, if I'm well, you will na ana say na no the man and madam ebe mmili si wee ma bia wee mala ebe mmili oge mmili kwụsịrị ụmụ ya. You know, I will make a few points, a few solid points. You know, onye ọbụla ma ife lead to nsogbu ndị be anyị banyere ya, or marginalization or injustice. You know, unfortunately, because these issues they are foundational. Society urban try make sure build the society on equity and justice. Unfortunately, a lot of ndị be anyị nwere that foundation of equity and justice. A lot of ndị be anyị bụ ihe niile a na-eme na okwubele okwu bụ na that thing na-eme affect. Ọ bụ na na-eme affect, nwere ihe gbasara ya. Even ụfọdụ ndị Igbo na-arịa atụ otu esi arịa atụ, ụfọdụ bụ because na ha bụ ndị Igbo. N'ihe a na-eme ndị Igbo na-emetụta ha. Ọ bụrụ na ha abụghị ndị Igbo, some of them may not care. You know, mana one thing ndị mmadụ ga-ama about injustice bụ na nwere injustice na last forever. I will give you just a few examples, and with so many examples. Look at Jews, for example. We know what happened during the Second World War. I mean, the Holocaust, how they were killed all over the country. Today, look at how powerful they are. You know, look at Rwanda again, for example. When the Tutsis were killed, I never found men a genocide. Today, they have a Tutsi as a president. So, we need to learn that now, when it comes to principles of justice and equity, because no basaragi, imechion, you know, because even in Igbo today in Nigeria, I tell you for a fact that time will come when the balance will tip. You know, onye free for job, yasin if I be for job. Keki gets you again in a country like Nigeria. It's in a tribe, a prominent tribe, one of the 3 major tribes in a populous country in Nigeria. It's in only Igbo in Nigeria, bo agui rensi for how many months? And then what do you some people for the wrong on here? Now look at where we got it wrong. The likes of Rafo was Rico, Habido, just like Otu Mazi Deca Siwe. Habido, they are no pressure group. No, if I ejike ndị Igbo wee nweta ife lufa. Man, at the end of the day, they veered off. And when they were veering off, a lot of people, a lot of people mechi on, you know. So, ihe a na-ekwu maka ya bụ na enwere any quick fix. Mana ka ebe anyị ebido with education. Onye wa mee na ife ị na-eme, na-ekene gị maka ife ị na-eme. Ọmaka, na-ekenekwa people like Mr. Deca. We have to start with education. Let me give you a practical example. If you look at Jews, Jews, genetically, Igbos may not be identical or related to the Jews. Man, I have a lot in common. In Jews, the Jews invest so much in education, educational awareness. If we have if they travel go to be in other places, you see the way they comport themselves. You see the way they do their things. Now, let me tell you something. We have to invest in education because ignorance, and ignorance may make us to lose even more. Let me tell you, Just like ndị na-watch football, World Cup is going on. O nwere oge a na-eme nye goal, bọọlụ bacha n'ime net, ama award the goal because na-enwere over. Mana today you have wele technology enene ya things adịgo better. If Nigeria, one of the things eji na-achụghalị ndị Igbo na-eme ihe a na-eme bụ that na Nigeria operate based on equity and fairness. Ndị Igbo, they may be ahead of maybe some other people. Ịghọta, a na-eme ihe niile a na-eme, mana ị need ịkụziri ndị be anyị that na if I need to be patient. Time will come when I'm fighting technology forever. I'm telling you. Ihe a na-eme presidency. Okay, ma round it off in 1 minute or 2. Ihe a na-eme na presidency, a na-eri election, ballot stuff, all these things a na-eme. Time will come oge people get ma to vote. People's vote will count. You know? And when Nigeria starts to operate on equity and fairness, if that na ndị Igbo ga-enweta ifelu ha. Ka m kwụsị ebe a ka Mr. Deca nwekwa ike itinye ọnụ. Ndewo, daalụ.
Okay, thank you, my brother and my sister. Basically, you see, I live in the past forever. The past is the past. But why we will not live in the past forever? And I got forget the past, because I forget here the past. And I can understand the present, and I got where the future is going. So we will always have to bring the past to the present, to the future. Yes, we have to acknowledge the wrongs of the past. We also have to acknowledge the wrongs of the present. Then we have to walk out and start asking ourselves, how do we make sure that the future is better than the present? If we start highlighting all the, because every point he points out about your joy Igbo, or here Nigeria or here Nigeria, you always have one argument for and one argument against, one argument for, one argument against. But the thing is that we have to acknowledge the fact that we were wrongly treated. Even President Obasanjo himself, when he returned back, he made that point. And it was based on that point that he started changing certain policies. And some of those policies is to open doors for an Igbo man to climb both in the military cadre and in certain areas. He understood it. He accepted it. But we won't hold on to the past and live in the past forever. We have to move forward. And what I've been suggesting, and what I will keep on suggesting, is that development is our lowest hanging fruit in Igbo land. If we're able to develop Igbo land, a lot of challenges you're seeing, most of the agitation and everything will little by little fizzle out. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen just in a year or in 2 years. Even, let me tell you, even Korea that is as developed as Japan, is also holding Japan responsible for the sins that the Japanese military committed when they were colonizing Korea and when they had their military occupation of Korea. China, that is as developed, even in their development, they have still not forgotten the fact that Japan committed certain atrocities against them during the Japanese occupation. And even in very developed countries, during the Second World War, there were even some rascals within America. They were going about in places where the Japanese were living, neighbor hunting, neighbor himi, and all those kind of things. They were maltreating them. So that's what I'm telling you. The umbrella of war, the umbrella of insecurity breeds a lot of insecurity. And unless insecurity is stopped, or unless insecurity is countered by development, it will keep on breeding more and more insecurity. Everybody using the umbrella of Biafra to commit atrocities is arrow. Is arrow in Igbo land, is arrow everywhere you go. We have to accept the fact that yes, this is the wrong thing, this is arrow, and all those kind of things. But we are not going to keep on living in the past and say that unless everything is sorted out, we are not going to move forward. You can use moving forward to restitute for the past. So that's what I'm saying. We as Igbo people, I need the Abia together to find out what can work.
Deca, one question Choma raised about elders, and timing. I don't know whether you can address that. That's not.
Yes, let me tell you the issue. Yes, there was a vacuum of leadership in Igbo land. That vacuum of leadership, because in nature, vacuum does not exist in nature. You got to a place now, you got to a farm now, you clear your farm, you search everybody, everything in your farm and everything, and you left it like that, or when he Korea, or when he made that thing, grasses will grow. And most times, the kind of grasses that will grow in that farm are the grasses that you don't like. So there was a vacuum, there was a failure. We have to accept that Igbo leadership failed, as at the time they needed to stand up. And it started with even the governors. You will also understand that as at the time, and when a lot of insecurity all over the land, so many regions we are agitating, let us set up a security outfit, let us set up a security outfit. The Igbo governors could not come together to agree on what they want to do. It is that their inability, it is that their failure to come together to take a decision that created the room and opportunity for the establishment of ESN. If they had come together and do what the Yoruba men established their Amoteco and all kind of thing, immediately this thing started happening. There wouldn't have been room for other things. Yes, we have to accept the fact that there was failure of leadership, there was failure of elders, and there was also cowardice of certain group of elders who couldn't stand on their word. That's an accepted fact. Our governors at that period failed us woefully. That's the fact.
Dalorin, yes, let's round up. This was supposed to be a quick one. Thank you very much for joining. In conclusion, you mentioned about the Eastern Cooperation that Michael Okpara used to develop the Southeast. You mentioned Obutukato Ranch. You mentioned a lot of development that sprouted up due to this development commission. Now, where do you see the recent SEDC now going? For what they are doing. We've been clamoring for this development commission before now, and today it is here. And then we have a young man that is at the helm of affairs, Mark Okoye Jr. For that this is a way forward, and we could experience what we experienced in the days of Michael Okpara with the way we're going, or do you think we're making headway with the SEDC? In conclusion, please, over to you, sir.
Let me tell you where I am with all this creation of development commissions. Initially, I was not in support of creation of different development commissions because I found that I saw it as a kind of duplication, that the government is trying to duplicate things that there were existing agencies that would have done one thing or the other. The government is just duplicating things, and in duplicating things, it also leads to a lot of loss of funding. You misdirect funding in different areas where it's supposed to be. These are some of the things. If government is doing what government should do, there wouldn't have been any need for development commission, because the government itself should be the biggest development commission in existence. That's why it is government. So when a government starts setting up a development commission to do what a government is supposed to do, then you start having issues. But the thing is that irrespective of whatever my views about it is there. It has been established. It has been established. So whatever position I held against it is not going to change the fact. But now, they might not be able to achieve the level of development Michael Okpara achieved, because Michael Okpara was also an executive premier that has access to funding. Apart from having access to funding, he also had the goodwill of the people, and he was also in position of authority. Authority leadership is very important. Now you have SEDC, overlooking, working across 5 states without developing a proper rapport with 5 different governors. You have to manage the egos of the 5 different governors. And you remember Igbo, our ego is too much as a people. And Okonkwo syndrome, or it's part of our problem, so this kind of thing now are clog in the wheel of development in Igbo land. But the thing is that my advice with them is to start looking for projects that cut across the region instead of identifying state in different, spotting out states. Get projects that cut across the region that will have a kind of multiplier effect that will cut across the region. The funding they have, a lot of people might think that they have a lot of money, but that funding might not be enough. But it is also enough to start something. So Michael Okpara's template, development template, is still there. Let them go and dust it up and start working with it. There is no need to start creating new idea or start doing that, because the problem is still the problem. The development challenges are still the development challenges. So look at what is available and find a way to fine-tune it to be able to solve today's problem. As I'm telling you, if we get a situation whereby somebody will graduate from University of Nigeria and Nsukka or ESUT or IMSU or Abia State University, and that person, there will be no need to come to Lagos to look for a job, to go to Abuja to look for a job, to go to Port Harcourt to look for a job. If that person can have a job within the Southeast, whether it's Enugu, Onitsha, Owerri, Aba, and those kind of things, when we created, that was the way it used to be before. That was the way it used to be before. Aba used to be the second most industrialized city after Lagos. People will graduate and they will just go to Aba and find a job. So if we're able to recreate that and have more and more of our people living in the Southeast, the multiplier effect, the developmental effect within the region will be enormous. It will be enormous, because what we are seeing is also a kind of brain drain. You move out, you spend money outside Igbo land, you pay your taxes outside Igbo land, you do all those kind of things. So when you put all these things together, these are things you should be spending the money within Igbo land, and it will create a circular economy within Igbo land. If we're able to achieve some of these things, it will be okay for us. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much, Kelechi Deca. That is why in their choices. People like you, like I told you, you're gonna be at this program from time to time. You gotta go. Please, I go Monday Mado. I ain't forgot time. We have passed the stage of insult, and we have passed that stage. That boss has moved. Motor agafego. Motor geta I load geta about constructive strategies, ideas. You want to go, oh, motor geta I load now. Strategy over emotions, So anye akwago screen guard yilinaro, anye akwago absorber insult. So please, time for insult has passed, We'll be coming to you, often and on. Please do well to join us, Kelechi Deca, Deca. Dalorin, Kafuku Obasozo. Thank you. Take care.